This your boy D from the Speak It Boldly Sports Podcast. I'm gonna jump right into it. One and the same. One in the same. And what am I referring to when I talk about this? Referring to Boots Ennis and Lamar Jackson. Not just their talent, not just they both happen to fight or reside on the East Coast, not because they're both black, but the criticism they receive from the media within their said sports. That's what I mean by one and the same. A lot of similarities to me as far as their ability, like I said, talent and different things like that. The eye test, the natural ability they both possess, the athleticism they both possess. But I want to jump in on the media aspects of both guys and just compare what I've been seeing and how I find them to be similar to each other within their said sport. With Lamar Jackson, I feel like a lot of the criticism, some has been valid over his career, and some has been invalid due to racial undertones, prejudice, and what a black quarterback is or isn't within the NFL. With Boots, the media, different media within both sports is media is different. Where in boxing, you will see a lot of YouTube-based guys. You still have your reporter, you still have your Ring Magazine, ESPN, the Athletic that report on boxing, but a lot of the media chatter, at least that I see, comes from X, social media, comes from YouTube. Guys with big followings on YouTube, and some of these channels on YouTube, which is their prerogative, their choice, but they can go against certain fighters and be for other fighters. So speak highly of one fighter or fighters and hate some other fighters, wherever that stems from, whether that's money generated or there's their true feelings. I do not know. But sometimes you see that a lot with these channels. So like for example, YSM Media, Philly based, I think Mill, I think that's his name, Mill, and call him by, Greg Hackett, true Philly supporters. They support Boots and along with other Philly fighters, and rightfully so. It's regional. That's one thing about boxing. It's a nationalistic sport. It's an international sport. But then within the U.S. and just period, you gonna have those pockets of like, this fighters from this area or resides with this camp or this promotional company. And you see where the different sects of boxing's SECTS resides. We are tank groupies over here, Haney groupies over here, Shakur groupies over here, British fighter groupies over here, Errol Spence fighter groupies over here, and so forth and so on. Just using those few fighters as examples, but you see that. And then you do have your couple of channels on YouTube and just fans period where they just like the sport. They know the sport, and have a good understanding and grasp of the sport, and they try to be as objective as possible. Even for myself, I try not to fanboy and try not to be a groupie, but I'm a huge Boost fan. I'm a huge David Benavidez fan. I'm a huge Bam Rodriguez fan. I'm a huge fan of Earl Spence. I know he just recently retired. I'm a fan of Emmanuel Navarrete. I like watching him fight. I like Oshaki Foster. These are guys that like, hey, if I had the money right now and they was fighting somewhere close to me, hey, I'm going. I want to see it in person. So that's what I mean as far as the media aspect. I want to touch on the boxing. It's a little different in NFL, which is covered more nationally, obviously, and boxing is not really a commercial sport within the U.S. right now. But as far as the um, media's presence and their criticism that they receive, that's what I want to touch on, where I find it to be one and the same. Um, for Boots, I just find a lot of the criticism to be one thing to have criticism, one thing to be overly critical. And that's more so what I'm getting at when I talk about both of these guys, but I'm prefacing that with Boots, is because even when his fight with Zayas, everything was about round three. Everything was bad about his bad defense. Okay, I get it. That's those fair criticisms. You see things, especially as guys that are fighters that's been fighting, they see little details, nuances that my eye may miss. So I respect that. But then I also find it too in boxing when a certain fighter has a relationship with a retired fighter or a media outlet, we don't see that same criticism. But you can criticize, I'm saying criticize Boots. So, for example, Andre Ward had a lot to say and a lot of fair things to say about Boots. When after the fight was Zayas, right? And it was fair, like, and then Boots went on there to the show with him and Roy Jones, with Andre Ward and Roy Jones, and said, he just lost lack of focus in that fight due to the first two rounds being so easy, and that's why he got caught in round three by Zayas. Cool. Andre Ward was like, paraphrasing, as a fighter on this level, you shouldn't lose focus, especially when you're in the championship fights, so forth, so forth. And I agree with Andre Ward on that. And then just thinking about it now, different situation, but we know Andre Ward and Shakur have a relationship. My thing is, publicly, not saying things haven't been said privately, just using this as an example, why haven't Andre Ward, you on your platform, blatantly criticized, I won't use the word criticized, but gave constructive criticism to Shakur and how he should be handling his business as far as going about getting these fights. The fights with Devin Haney, all the talking he's been doing, the running around, putting up this barrier over here for this fighter against Oshaki, putting up this barrier for Devin Haney, putting up this barrier for Remy Mortaya, putting up this barrier for the guy, for other dude that's due for 135 who just beat Edwin De Los Santos. I went blank, but moving forward, y'all know what I'm talking about. Just using it as an example. Terence Crawford did the same thing in the interview with I think Uncle Murder and Tony Ayal. You know, not saying you have to, but y'all have a lot to say about Boots because he's not in your camp. So that's my thing with you say in life period. That's how it is in life period. When you have relationships with people, you don't want to ruffle any feathers. But my thing is, we can criticize this guy. Oh, he's in our camp. He's in our circle. So you know, I'm talking about publicly now because there were things about Boots that was said, right and wrong, and like it was said. Terence Crawford had a lot to say. Using it as an example about when they're talking about boxing and you talk about these sects of groups that are all together, like, we don't want to criticize. And that's my thing when it comes to Boots. So it's a lot of time the criticism, I find it to be at times fair, but then I felt after this fight with Zayas, like we talking about how bad Boots' was. Well, how bad was Zayas' defense? He got hit with the kitchen sink. If we're gonna go that route, like, what about the guy who actually like lost the fight? Is what I'm saying. So with Boots, I'm trying to find like where does this hate stem from? It can be, could it be racially motivated? Maybe for some people. I think for some it's envy and jealousy, in my opinion, depending on what group of fans, because how boxing is categorized right now in groups. When you talk about just the fans in period, I look at boxing as a whole. Oh man, he could probably beat my favorite fighter. It's a strong possibility. Because now the eye test, depending on what you're listening to, who you're listening to, where you're getting your boxing news from, the eye test for Boots is not enough. We need to see more. But when Terence Crawford was active, coming up in the top ranks, the eye test was enough. And the eye test does say a lot about a fighter. It tells you, like, man, this dude is really, really good, or hey, this dude is not really as touted as they say he is. And so that's what I mean by when I say one and the same. The criticisms come from different places, but to me, it's always negative. Because I've never seen in a fight where you dominate a fight as a fighter, and the only thing that's harped on is the round three. Like it's all almost as this one thing I've said about Lamar Jackson and other videos, but Lamar Jackson and Jerome Boots Ennis have to be perfect. Even if they win, oh man, sometimes you go focus on the negative. So I have a moment where I get hit, little adversity, I get buzzed. I said, Boots said he lost focus. Okay, I agree. You should not be losing focus because you going up against other guys like your Fundoras, your Virgil Ortiz's, and you lose focus. Or your Terence Crawford, he come back out of retirement trying to fight and lose focus. Like, guys like that and guys with alike, that situation will look different. That's just to me, that's common sense. That's common sense right there. Same thing with Lamar Jackson. Oh no, he threw a pick in the first quarter. That's the reason why they lost. Dang, what happened to the other three quarters? As if it's the mindset of fans and media is as if they have to be perfect. Oh, it's not good enough. But like when Terrence Crawford fought Kavaliauskas back when he was on the still top ranking, he had, he was getting caught with punches, and they called a knockdown. They called it a non-knockdown, but it was a knockdown. He faced some adversity. I know even back then fans was on his head for that too. You may say it was a Spence fans, whatever the case you want to say, but rightfully so. It shouldn't be. I think it shouldn't be overly critical. It's like, okay, he faced adversity, he came back and got the job done. That's all I'm saying. He faced some adversity. He got hit with multiple shots. Even versus his one fight at 154 versus boy, I'm going blank. Move forward. Y'all know the fight at 154. I apologize. Forgive me. But he was getting hit with some stuff. He getting hit with them straight right hands multiple times. Had his eyes swelled up a little bit. He wasn't swelled up, but he had a little mouse on there, whatever. It's boxing. But it's like sometimes we love fighters so much, or we love this so much that we just go overlook before somebody else. Oh no, same thing could be happening. But we go kill this guy. But we go love this guy. Same thing in the NFL with Lamar Jackson. Oh man, Lamar Jackson he can't win the Super Bowl. He not like that. He don't da 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 da. They did all these things. But more recently, he's not. He's hard to. What they said. Coachable. So many different things over his career, even coming out of college. He should play receiver. Da 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 da. So many different things that's been said, but it's like, where are these same criticisms for Justin Herbert, who hasn't won a playoff game yet? If everything's about the Super Bowl, all the quarterbacks that have not won a Super Bowl, these current actual quarterbacks, where's the criticism at? But we only have that smoke and tenacity for this guy. Well, because he don't look like a quarterback. He's not clean cut enough. So things like that is more so what I look at when I'm talking about the sport. I want to keep it boxing. I want to keep it football. I want to keep it what's happening on the field. Not these microaggressions, not this hate that you have in your heart for a person you do not know as a fan. Yeah, you may not like their style. That's fine. You may not like of course, seasonally, you don't like his style, or you don't like the way he be lying. Lack of integrity and character. That's a different conversation. That needs to be criticized, in my opinion. And shout out to Showbiz though for saying what he said on his pod last week that went viral. Holding feet to the fire, holding these guys accountable. So that's the thing I wanted to really touch on when you're talking about them being one and the same. Yes, I can talk about their talent. Undeniable. They doing stuff that in their respective sports nobody else has done or can do currently. That's just the truth. We got Roy Jones in boxing, but Boots, even that is different. They different from each other. Terrence Crawford and him are different from each other. Boots really fight in both stances, like legit. Not just switching, here and there. But it's just, respects to what these guys can do. It's like there's a lot of comparisons with these guys, both Lamar Jackson and Boots. I'm like, man, they really, to me, originally this video title is going to be Boots is the Lamar Jackson of boxing. Because, that's kind of just how I view it and different things like that. But it's like, these guys are really, 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 really similar as far as their talent and some of the things they face from the media perspective and some of the scrutiny they take on. So it's just like, I'm really just looking forward to, I want to see Lamar win the Super Bowl. I want to see Boots become undisputed, beat Fundora, beat Virgil Ortiz, however that may go down if he ends up fighting both of those guys. Beat Josh Kelly. And really, kind of sticking it to, I don't think that's their goal per se, but sticking it to, the haters, for real. Sometimes that stuff gets really, really ridiculous within, media and football and media within YouTube. Well, we're in boxing, but YouTube, these YouTube creators. But let's see what happens. Like I say, they both one of one. They both are. They both him, in my opinion. Like I said, I'm a fan. Lamar Jackson, #1 QB, Boost is top 10 pound for pound fighter in the sport, man. So let's see what happens. Let's move forward with it.